Okay, so we are learning tonight the preparation of Sukkot. It's almost Sukkot in a couple of days, and this is very special, very special Torah because we're going to go back to our favorite, to the Marinayim of Nachum Shinoba, which we've been doing for a while already, and we're going to be learning the very last Torah in the Marinayim, which is about Sukkot. Okay, so this is his grand finale. He ends with a bang, and so perhaps this is like his greatest message that he wants to share with us, as his last will and testament, if you will. And so this is what Rabbi Nachum Shlomo wants us to understand about Sukkot, and that is that Sukkot is all about understanding. Sukkot is about really understanding life. This is what's called da'at. And this is based on the pasuk. The Torah says that about the mitzvah of Sukkah, that Leman yed'u dorotechem ki b'Sukkot shafti et bnei Yisrael, that you should sit in Sukkot in order that they should understand. That in order for every generation they should understand that I put the Jewish people in Sukkot as I was protecting them in the desert. And so all the commentaries write that from the fact that the Torah uses this word leman yed'u dorotechem, that in order that they should have a das, in order that they should have an understanding. So this is teaching us that one of the themes of the mitzvah of Sukkot is the theme of das. Okay, the theme of really understanding. There's something about this mitzvah of Sukkah, something about this holiday that gives us a deeper understanding of life. Okay, so we're trying to understand what it means to understand. Okay, in other words, that a person could live his whole life without understanding. A person could live his whole life with just a superficial way of just getting by, just winging life, and that's called living without das. Okay, now the Torah says, the Gemara says that das is such a critical thing that the Dakani lo chaser. It's about das, that if you have das, then you're lacking nothing. The da chaser makani. If you're lacking das, then what do you have? That you could have the biggest mansion in Hollywood. You could have a million cars. You could have a million. You could be the CEO of a company. If you don't have das, so it's all worthless. Your entire life is worthless. Just having this understanding of life, okay, just having a deep das. So this is what the school of the mitzvah of Sukkah is. This is what the school of the holiday of Sukkah is. Having das, coming out of this holiday, coming into this holiday with understanding of life. Okay, so what exactly is this das? So he explains that there's actually two ways that a person can appreciate something. There's two ways the person can understand. There's two levels of understanding. And he brings a metaphor that, number one, when a person if a person eats something, so when you taste it, so then you really get it. When you taste something, when you taste a piece of food, so then you really understand the essence of the food, and that's really getting it from the inside. Okay, if you look at it from the outside, so you observe it, you can see the food, you can see perhaps the people eating the food, but you can't taste the food. So then that's also a certain understanding, right? I didn't do it myself, but I was a spectator, right? That's also a level of understanding. And the person that he didn't see the food, he didn't taste the food, and he didn't see the food. He just heard about it. Okay, that's not understanding at all. Okay, so he explains that this is two kinds of understanding. That there's something called or pnimi, there's something called or makif. And this is something very, very basic, very fundamental in Kabbalah, in Chassidus, that there's or pnimi and or makif. And this is one of the biggest themes of Sukkot. That or pnimi means inner light, or makif means surrounding light. Okay, so these two lights are corresponding to two levels of understanding. That a person, or pnimi means that I understand it from the inside, that I taste it, I really get it, and or makif is that I don't really get it, but I see it. I'm able to appreciate it from the outside. And then, of course, there's something even higher. There's something which is something which just completely above my head. Simply, completely, I missed it. That I didn't taste it and I didn't see it. Okay, so that's called not understanding. Okay. So these are two levels of experiencing life. These are two levels of understanding. And these two levels, so they really appear in many facets of our experience. Number one, so in Chesed, it says that when we talk about Avraham Avinu, so Avraham, he was the Amud HaChesed, he's the pillar of Chesed, the pillar of kindness. And so how would he help people? So first of all, so he would give them food to eat. Okay? The food to eat, that's the chesed that they really get. That's the chesed that they really internalize. That's the chesed that they really taste. But he didn't suffice it with that. We know that when Avraham did chesed, so through his chesed, he would teach them emunah. Through his chesed, so he would teach them that, don't thank me, thank the creator of the world. And like he was able to, through his giving them food, he's able to set them straight, set them on a certain path of life. They should be able to understand more about what they're doing in life, what they're looking for, and that's called the Or Makif. It's called the Chesed HaMakif. Okay, meaning that if you ask them what exactly did you get, so it's not something tangible. It's not something that really that they can quantify that this is what I understood, but like they would come out of Abraham's house with a new look on life, with a new take on life. And that's the Chesed HaMakif. That's the Chesed, that's the surrounding light. That it's not that I tasted it. I can't say that I tasted the fact that now I look at life forever, but it's something real. And in fact, it's something greater. Because, there's a rule in life, there's a rule in spirituality that less is more. Okay? What do I mean the less is more? That the more that you can really internalize something, the more that you can really taste something, the more that you can really comprehend it, so that proves that it's actually a lower level of understanding. Because if it would really be an awesome thing, then you wouldn't be able to understand it. If it would really be an amazing thing, then you wouldn't be able to grasp it. So the fact that you get less of it means that it's actually a greater thing. If you really grasp it, that means that it's a smaller thing. Okay? So anything in life that we're going to be getting an opinion about, anything in life that we're going to be able to grasp, so that actually proves that it's a smaller light, that it's a smaller thing that we're able to grasp, and that's why we're able to grasp it. Whereas that the greater thing, the thing which was above comprehension, that we're only able to just behold it because it's really too great to be able to comprehend. So that proves there's actually a greater thing. Okay? So when Avram was doing chesed, so he's doing two things. First of all, he was giving him the food. First of all, he was giving him the drink. He was giving them a shelter. He was giving them something that they can really comprehend. But the truth is, he was giving them more than that, and he was giving them a new take on life, a new perception in life. And so that's hinted to in the pasuk when it says Vayita Avram Eshel Be'Beersheva. So it says that he planted an Eshel. So Rashi says that literally it means a tree. Rashi says that Eshel is a Rashi Tevis. It's a acronym. It stands for Achila Shtiya Levaya. Eating and drinking, as well as accompaniment. Okay, Levaya means to walk with somebody. So what's it mean to walk with somebody? That he would also accompany them, meaning that he became their partner in life. He became that wherever you go, I'm going to help you in your journey. Okay, that's what it means to really be somebody's milaveh. Okay, to be the person who is accompanying with you. And that's the Levi, the tribe of Levi, like the priests. So that's their job. The job is to be our milavim, to be the ones that guide us, the ones that are helping us get safely to wherever we're getting in our journey. Okay? So Avraham Avinu, so when he was helping people, so he didn't suffice with the Or Pnimi, with Chesed HaPnimi, with the Achila and Shtiya, with just the food and drink, but he insisted on giving more. He insisted on giving the livoy, and to help them in their journey, to be the one that accompanies them on their path. Okay, so this is the two things. This is the two levels, and these two levels of, just like the appear in Chesed, that there's Chesed of Pnimi and Chesed of Makif. So Reb Nachman Shnoble says that these two levels appear in Torah as well. is something that we spoke about last week regarding Yom Kippur, that there's Torah Shebichtav and Torah Sheba'al Peh, that there's the written Torah and there's the oral Torah. So what's the difference between the two? So the Torah Sheba'al Peh is the part that we get. Right? Torah Sheba'al Peh is something for humans. Torah Sheba'al Peh is that it's given from teacher to student. It's something that by definition is that we're understanding. Okay? And then there's the Torah Shebiksav. Then there's the written Torah. The written Torah is we behold. We can't really say we get it, but we observe it. Like we can see it. And so this is the two levels of perceiving the Torah. There's a level of perceiving the Torah that we really get it. That's Torah Sheba'al Peh. There's a level of perceiving the Torah that we behold it, that it's really too great to actually comprehend, to grasp, but we see that it's there. And then you write something very, very beautiful. In an Aleph, so how do you make an Aleph? So you have a Yud on top, you have a Yud on the bottom, then you have a Vav that's connecting them. Right? If you look at the Sefer Torah, so the way to write an Aleph is like this. This is an Aleph. Hope you can see it. That you have over here. You have the top Aleph, the top Yod. Over here you have the bottom Yod, and this is a Vav. Yeah. So this Vav is the Das. This Vav is the understanding. The understanding to be able to connect between what we grasp and what we don't grasp. Okay. To understand that the truth is that there is a connection between the level of life that we can comprehend and the level of life that is beyond our grasp, and it's through our das that we're able to connect them. Okay, so this is that to understand that even though we're perceiving something that is beyond our grasp, to know that it's not related to us. It's something that it's connected to the here and now. It's connected to the actually how-to the practical guide to Judaism. Meaning, in other words, you could say that halacha is the how-to. Halacha is the or pnimi. Halacha is that what I really get, and the agada, the philosophy behind it, the understanding, the divine inspiration behind something. That's the or makif. So that's the thing that we behold, and when we see something that we behold, so to believe that it's not something beyond us, it's something that's actually practical. It's something that we can actually put our hands on. That when we're sitting in the sukkah, when we're putting on tefillin, when we're learning Torah, when we're davening, so we're actually connecting to these higher worlds. And when we're doing the practical, to remember that it's not just that we're dipping the apple in the honey, it's not just that we're listening to a ram's horn, that there's actually something very awesome, very great, very beyond in the practical that we're doing. So this is the das, this is the understanding that's able to connect between the higher yod and the lower yod. Okay, so now I write something which is very, very deep, and that is that if you look at a sukkah, so the halacha is the sukkah has 3 walls. Okay, so if you look at this is a sukkah, 3 walls. So the graphic design of 3 walls is basically the form of the letter bet. Right? I know what you're thinking, that it's not really a bet, it's really a chaf, because it's missing this thing. So now I hope you're happy. But the halacha is that this shmutzik in the back is actually not an integral part of the bet. Really, the difference between the bet and the chaf is not this, but rather that a bet is straight lines and that the chaf is round. Okay, really the actual difference between bet and the chaf is that this is straight and this is round. So having 3 walls is actually the shape of a bet. Okay, and that's why the letter bet has the Hebrew connotation. In the Hebrew language, the word bet is the same word as bayit, which means home, which means that you're being contained within these 3 walls. Okay, I want to say that there's something unique about something special about the Hebrew language, that only in the Hebrew language do the letters have meanings. Aleph means to teach, Bet means a house, Gimel means to give, Dalet means poor. Like each one, Chet means life, Tet means Zayin means weapons. Like there's something like every letter has a meaning. Like in English, there's no such thing, right? B. I mean, a B means a B, but I don't think that means anything. A doesn't mean nothing. C means something. D doesn't mean anything. Anyway, so it says the structure of the sukkah is reminiscent of the letter Bet. So what's actually special about the letter Bet? So over here, so instead of having the Yud on top and the Bet on the bottom, it's the Yud on the top and the Yud on the bottom. So now we have a line on the top and a line on the bottom, and we're connecting the same vav. Okay, or in other words, that Yud represents the philosophy. Okay, these vavs, in the Bet, so we're going into the lifestyle. Okay, we're going into, this is what, back to Avraham Avinu. So Avraham Avinu, so he didn't just have a philosophy of comprehensible and a philosophy of beyond comprehensible. That he actually had a way of life of comprehensible and a way of life of beyond comprehensible. Right? That was his Esha. That he gave them a chesed which is tangible. He gave them a chesed which is beyond tangible, and he was able to connect them. Okay, so this is the Bet. When we're living in the sukkah, so we're supposed to be getting this das that everything in our life, in the actual, sukkah is something that it's very, very real. It's a very, very tangible kind of mitzvah. It's a mitzvah that you're really living in the sukkah. Okay, as opposed to everything else, that like you feel like with other mitzvahs, you feel like you're doing something like for a moment. You feel like I'm like doing some kind of ceremony. Okay, with sukkah you don't feel like you're doing a ceremony. The mitzvah of sukkah is to alter your actual living. Okay, there's nothing ceremonious about living in sukkah. You're actually living. You understand what I'm saying? So in sukkah, so we're altering our way of life. We're taking these cheseds. We're taking our way of perceiving life, and part of it is going to be comprehensible. Part of it is going to be beyond comprehensible, and to connect these two levels of living. So now he takes this a step further, and he explains that this is really the essence of the mitzvah of sukkah, because it says in the mitzvah of sukkah that the essence of sukkah has to be a dirat arai, has to be a temporary dwelling. Okay, why does it have to be a temporary dwelling? Because when you're in this level of understanding, when you really get this das, that there's more to life than the comprehensible, and there's more to life than the beyond comprehensible, the thing that you're beholding. So then you're always in the middle. Then you're always on the fence between, like, what am I experiencing right now? So that is really the deepest definition of something being hello. That's the deepest definition of something being temporary. The fact that I'm on the fence, the fact that whatever I'm doing, I realize that there's more to it than this. When I'm really feeling something, so I'm recognizing that, hey, it's true that I'm really feeling it, but I know that there's more to it than what I'm really feeling. Okay? And when I'm really just beholding something, when I'm just like in a trance, when I'm just in Batayin, so then I'm thinking, whoa, but I know that there's actually more to life than Batayin. You can come to Jerusalem and just and be with it, be like settled, and be what's the word? Grounded. Yes. That's it.
I forget that word.
Right. Yes. That's the yud. That's the yud that's grounding you. So, or the bet. That's the bet that's grounding you. So this is. So this is the what's the essence of Sukkot is really the essence of Sukkot is this diras arai, that to recognize that wherever I'm never going to be set in my ways, never going to be stuck, because the definition of understanding that there's always more to anything than what I'm experiencing right now. So then I always want to be in the middle, right? This is this is the challenge. This is the challenge of being. This is the challenge of being wise. This is the challenge of life, of to be how to actually be a balanced person. I mentioned this in the Torah of the Shuk. We're talking about hadassim. So the halacha that you have to be careful about hadassim is the hadassim have to be meshulash. They have to be the three leaves coming from the same place. Yes. So I explained that hadassim represent your eyes. Right. The lulav represents your heart. The lulav represents your spine, your ego, the way you present yourself to the world. And the arivot represent your lips, your expression, and the hadassim represent your eyes. They look like the way it looks. The leaves of the hadas look like eyes. The leaves of the arivos look like lips, and the lulav looks like your spine, and the esrog looks like your heart. So what's the thing about three? That your perception of the world has to be balanced. Three represents balance. Three represents balance because if you have two, so then you're always mixed up, right? If a person who has two options, so then they don't know. They're always just pulled between two things, torn between two things. So the third is the thing that gives you balance, right? So your perception of the world, your eyes, need to have three. Your eyes need to have three because the way you perceive the world, you need to be balanced. If you're just going to be torn apart, so then you won't be able to succeed in life. So your perception of life needs to be balanced. Needs to have this three, which is bringing it together. And this is the challenge of life is that to understand that life is about being balanced. And this is so hard because it's so much easier just to be set in your ways. Okay, it's so much easier just to be an extremist. It's so much easier to say, okay, I'm just going to be very, very practical, or it's okay, I'm just going to be very, very out there. I'm going to be very, very esoteric, and then you get it. Then you're like, okay, that everybody knows that I'm the esoteric girl. Everybody knows that I'm the grounded person, and then it's very. I give myself a definition. I give myself a picture. I give myself a box, and then I'm good. And then that das requires you to be balanced, and that's boring. It's like so where are you? You're like, are you balanced? Are you grounded? Or are you esoteric? Are you like hippy dippy? Or you're just boring? It's like what's your label? So das requires us to say, well, actually, I don't have a label. I just do the right thing at the right time. I just always make the right decisions because I'm aware that life is complicated. And I'm aware of the fact that if you're going to be only here, only there, then you're not getting the whole picture. So by definition, I'm always oscillating between these two places, and that's why my life is a life of arai, a life of temporariness. Okay, and this is why the mitzvah, the essence of the mitzvah of Sukkah is to be a dirat arai, to be a temporary dwelling, because the person who's living in the world of das, so he needs to realize that he's going to be temporary. He needs to realize that he's not going to be able to stay in one place. He's always going to be all over the place. It's great for people like me that have ADHD. This is the holiday of Yaakov Avinu. This is the holiday of Yaakov Avinu because it says that Pesach is the holiday of Abraham, because Abraham is Chesed. Abraham is Chesed. Chesed is, Pesach is about Chesed. Hashem did this amazing Chesed when He took us out of Egypt because we didn't deserve it. We didn't deserve it. He just took us out because He likes us. And Shavuos is about Yitzchak. Shavuos is Yitzchak's holiday, and that's why Shavuos is about din. It's about Gevurah. Okay, because Torah is laws. Okay, when we're getting the Torah, we're getting laws. We're getting things. We're getting rules, and that's Yitzchak. Yitzchak is din. Yitzchak represents din, and from Avraham and Yitzchak together comes Yaakov. Okay? And Yaakov represents Rachamim. Rachamim is the mix. It's the zivug between chesed and din. Okay? Rachamim means compassion. So when you're in compassion, so it's you're not exactly in the world of kindness. You're not exactly in the world of judgment. What do I mean? That in the world of kindness, like, let's have a kindness day. Okay? So what am I going to do on kindness day? I'm going to walk around the shuk with a bunch of flowers, and I say, here, take a flower. It's kindness day. Right? You ever seen this? Sometimes they have better stuff than flowers. Sometimes they have soup. And when actually, there's something nicer about flowers than soup, because soup, you feel deep down like probably they really mean for homeless people to take it, right? But flowers, that they just want everybody to take flowers, right? So that if you're just giving kindness, then you can just that like, it has not, like, I'm giving you just because I want to give, right? It has nothing to do with whether or not you deserve it or not, right? Okay, that's chesed. Then there's din. Then there's judgment. Judgment is that, well, if you deserve it, I'll give you. If you don't deserve it, I won't give you. Right? And then there's rachamim. Rachamim is compassion. So what's compassion? Compassion is that it's not that I'm just giving. There actually is a judgment. But it's a judgment with compassion. Okay? In other words, that it's not like we're not. There is a what's the word? A board that's deciding whether or not you're going to get your promotion. It's not like we're just giving out promotions. There actually is a board that's sitting and discussing whether or not you're going to get it, and so they start by saying, okay, let's see, like, do they deserve it? Do they not deserve it? Does she have the credentials? Does she not have the credentials? Has she been working hard? Is she not working hard? Whatever. But then there's this another voice that says, oh, come on, but like, she's been waiting for so long, and she's so frustrated and everything else, and her boyfriend just broke up with her, and like, she's like, come on, she really needs this break. And so that's called compassion. It's not that we're ignoring the facts, and it's also not that we're just giving for the sake of giving. We're having judgment with compassion. Okay? So that's Yaakov. That's something that comes forth from Avraham, which is pure giving, and Yitzchak, which is pure judgment. So the mix between them is compassion, and that's expressed by Yaakov. But what's unique about Yaakov is that all of his children were holy. All of his children were holy. Avraham Avinu, so he was chesed. And chesed is sweet, but he had a Yishmael. Yishmael, so that's the bad part of chesed. Yishmael, so their thing is sexual immorality. Their thing is niuf, adultery. And so the adultery is the bad side of chesed. That when I'm only giving, I'm only sharing, just everybody give me a hug. So like, we're not going to ask you if you're married or not. Everybody just hug everybody. Okay, we're going to have hug day. Everybody hug everybody, and that's just. And so when you only have chesed, like, so then you get to adultery. Then you get to, and that's Yishmael. Yishmael is the bad side of Avraham. Okay, now Yitzchak is din. Okay, so what's din is judgment. Yitzchak had Esav. What's Esav's thing? Esav's thing is murder. Okay, so that judgment is nice. It's nice to have truth. It's nice when things make sense, right? It's nice when things have a cause and effect. But what's the downside of judgment? Aggression. Okay, if a person's going to say that, like, this is the way it is, and I told you I don't know if I mentioned here or somewhere else, that like a friend of a friend of mine, like, I heard this like secondhand. He had a neighbor that was a mafia guy. Okay, and he was a great guy. And so one day they had a great relationship. And so one day I asked him, I always wanted to ask you, like, I don't get it. What's the pshat? Like, you're such a nice guy. how could you be in the mafia? It doesn't make any sense to me. So he said, it's very simple. It's very simple. Family is family. And friends are friends. And money is money. Like if you're my friend, so then I'll be the best friend in the world. And if you owe me money and you don't pay me, so you're gonna be buried in cement. You know, that's it. That's the end of it. That this judgment, when taken too far, so it's destructive, and that's Esav. Okay, so that's why Yaakov that had this balance, Yaakov that had this rachmim. Okay, so that when you have rachmim, when you have balance, so then everybody's holy. Then there is no rachamim is the way to go. Rachamim is the way that is sustainable. It's the way that when you have rachamim, so then you can't take rachamim too far because it is the perfect balance. Okay, so that's why this holiday, the holiday of Sukkot, is the holiday of balance. It's the holiday of being in these two worlds at the same time, and fighting this tightrope of between the judgment and the chesed, between the giving, between the following the rules, not following the rules, between the comprehensible, between the not comprehensible, and so he says that this is also hinted to. This is also hinted to in the halacha of sukkah, because it says that the third wall of the sukkah, so it can be a tefach. It can be a tefach. So tefach literally means it can be one hand's breadth. It means there's a special rules that the third wall of the sukkah is more lenient than the first two walls. So he says that this is hinted to in what Hashem is revealing in the holiday of Sukkot, because what does it mean? What does it mean, rachamim? Rachamim is, I'll give to him, af al pi she'eno hagun. I'll give to him even though he doesn't deserve it. Okay? I'll give it to him that I'm not having a judgment. I'm having a judgment, but I'm sweetening the judgment. Okay? And that so what does it mean, tefach? So he writes that litapeach mishu means to cultivate somebody. Okay, it says that in Yeshayahu that Hashem says Asher tipachti v'ribiti, that Hashem talks about us as the Jewish people as His children, shetipachti, that He invested in us, that He cared for us, that He cultivated us, that He brought us up. So Shlishus Afilu Tefach means that this rachamim that Hashem is giving with us, that Hashem is revealing to us in this holiday of Sukkot, so He's giving to us just because He loves us so much, just because we're His favorite. Meaning He's having rachamim onto us because He loves us so much. Or in other words, that the way that you're going to judge the person that you're in love with is different than the way that you're going to judge the person that you have no connection to. So the rachamim is that it's not that I'm not judging you, but I'm judging you as my favorite person. Okay, and this is what's so beautiful about the holiday of Sukkot. This is the essence of the holiday of Sukkot. Is rachamim. This is how we bring out Hashem's rachamim. How we bring out what's in other places. This is called the hamtakat adinim, the sweetening of the judgment. The Mishnah says that that if it rains on the first night of Sukkot, so it's a bad sign. It's a bad omen, because it's like a servant that is coming to put water in his master's wine, and the master takes his water and throws it out, pours it out. So that's how the Mishnah describes when it rains on the first night of Sukkot. So it's as if we're trying to pour water in our master's wine, meaning that we're coming to pour water in Hashem's wine, and Hashem is like throwing out our water. I don't want your water. Get away from here. So the Vilna Gaon explains, what's the symbolism? That on Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur there's a certain judgment that's coming down into the world. And the essence of the mitzvah of Sukkah is to lahamtik katadin, is to sweeten the judgment, is to bring this rachamim into the judgment. That whatever happened, So that's judgment. But hey, but you forgot that you're judging your favorite people in the world. That's the rachman. That's the water that we're bringing. That's the water that we're pouring into. That it used to be that the wine was very strong, so you couldn't drink the wine without without watering it down. Right? Some people have the custom before Kiddush. That I have this custom, and it's my frequently asked questions at my Shabbos table. That why are you pouring water into your wine? So it's a Kabbalistic thing because the water represents the rachman, and the wine represents the judgment. So we're sweetening the judgment by putting the water into the wine. So the essence of the mitzvah of Sukkah is to have this deeper understanding of life, to understand that it's not so polar. It's not one or the other. It's not about chesed or rachamim. It's not that either you have to be an easygoing person or you have to be an intense person. There's something in the middle called rachamim. There's something in the middle that realizing that there's a place for chesed, there's a place for din, there's a place for the concrete, there's a place for the esoteric, there's a place for everything. Living on this tightrope, and this is the project of Sukkot. This is Deres Arai. This is to realize that everything in life, that we have to be very, very in the moment, but to be very, very not set in our ways, not to be in a Deres Kva, not to be in a set way of life, that always to know that we are in a very transient mode. Okay, we're very, very temporary mentality, because whatever we're doing, it's only part of the picture. Okay, so this is really the essence of understanding life. Okay, meaning to understand what's it mean. What's the das? What's the das of Sukkot? What is this understanding that we're trying to understand? That we're trying to get? We're trying to internalize over Shabbat, over Sukkot. That the das is that whatever you understand is never the whole picture. Okay, so if you want to really get the whole picture, so you have to constantly be switching. You have to be constantly being able to see that there's also another side to the picture. There's also another observation. There's another way of understanding. So this is really the greatest das. This is really the greatest level of understanding life is like this. This is what we always say, that to know that you don't know. To know that you don't know. To know that wherever I'm understanding right now, that's not the whole picture. And to know that if I really want to live life to the fullest, I'm going to need to be constantly oscillating between different mentalities, between different ways of dealing with life. So I bless us all that we should be able to really connect with Sukkot, to really be able to understand how transient our understanding of anything really is, and to really get that we don't get it, and to really get that there's always going to be more, and we can get this more as long as we take everything with a grain of salt. As long as we take everything, as long as we, this is a deeper understanding to what I've told you many times, that life is too important to be taken seriously. That if you're going to take life seriously, you say, no, but I know that you need to be like this. And okay, that's true, but it's also true the opposite. Okay? And so if you're going to be set in your ways, you're going to be living life with a diras kva, with a permanent kind of mentality, so then you're lost. You're lost because you don't realize, it's true, what you're saying is very beautiful, but that's only part of the picture. Okay, and to realize that there's always more and to be constantly oscillating. So this is the bracha. This is the bracha of Sukkot. That the Chernobyl writes that this is expressed in the mitzvah of lulav as well. That in the mitzvah of lulav, so what do? We do nanuim. Nanuim is the movements, the shaking. Okay, what shaking is, we go out, we go in, go out, we go in, constantly moving, constant movement. Okay, that I'm never staying in the same point. And I once heard a beautiful thing that the same thing of going in and out. So the same concept is mentioned in the Gemara in Chulin. That the Gemara in Chulin says that this is a sign of life. That if you want to know that if an animal is alive or dead after it's shechted, if you want to know if it's still alive, so that the sign of life is that it has these movements. It's like a seizure, these movements. So, but it uses the same terminology. This going out and in. This what's the word? Instinctive. Reflexive kind of thing that they're. So, but the Gemara uses that as a sign of life. A sign of life. Going in and out is a sign of life. So I heard from Yonis and David that the ability to go back and forth that's the sign of life. Okay, if you're just set in your ways, then you're dead. Then you're dead. If this is the way you are, this is the way you think, that if you're able to constantly be reverting from mentality to mentality, to understand that there's always more, so that then you're alive. So I bless us all that we should really be very alive. We should really get a lot of life out of this Sukkot, and we should really be able to get a deep understanding that there's always going to be more than we will understand. L'chaim.